I'll take you through a few different types of strategic partnerships. So first, what is a strategic partnership? So a strategic partnership is a collaboration of some sort between two different businesses with a mutually beneficial objective. And it might be the same objective, or they might be two different objectives, but you're both mutually benefiting from that partnership. So what are some types of strategic partnerships? There are a ton of different types, but to kind of break it down for you, the first type is going to be more of a marketing partnership. So these can be things like, okay, we're going to partner together and have cross promotion. I send out emails, you send out emails. We're going to cross promote each other within our emails. We're going to do joint webinars, but essentially it's to expand reach and brand awareness for your business. The second type is going to be a channel partnership. So these are going to be other ways that you can provide value to third parties who will help sell your products. And this can be where they're going to be like referrals, affiliates, resellers. There's a lot of different types of channel partnerships. But ideally, there's someone where there's an alignment with your product or service and then with what they're doing. And it makes sense for them to either bolt it on to what they're doing and they can kind of upsell and then add in your services and you cut them a percent of that. The third would be product development partnerships. So this might be, and I think this is really interesting for you too. So you can co-develop a product or a service together, or you can enhance something that you already have. And that might be, where there's something like, I know you've talked a little bit in particular about, maybe it would make sense to create some type of software. I believe you were saying around like helping with the analytics, or maybe it's related to being able to like connect with the creators and submit campaigns and things like that. Whatever that might be to help with costs, sometimes companies will co-develop that with another company and say, okay, let's go, essentially we can go halvesies on this development cost, share that to bring it down, but we both get the value. Or maybe there's different things you both get out of it, and it might not be that you need the exact same tool, or maybe you own it and someone else is going to pay for it because they really want that technology to exist for them, but they don't need to own it. So you get to own it. This can also sometimes be, a trial M&A. All of these could be trial M&As, I should say. It could all end up being that place, because if you remember when we've talked on other calls about what are reasons that companies will acquire, they kind of match back to some of the reasons why companies might want to have a strategic partnership or a channel partnership or product development partnership as well. So the next one would be more of a financial partnership. So this could be a strategic investor. This could be a company where you're like, I could see this company acquiring my company one day. Right now, maybe it doesn't make sense for whatever reason, but I could see it going that direction, and so could they. So they want to basically have a foot in the door, and you want the added credibility of having that investor, the added financials, obviously, of having additional funding, and then it gives your customers additional like assurance on, okay, this company is going to be around for a long time because it has that backing too. So those are different reasons for financial partnership. You could also have a financial partnership that's of a kind of revenue sharing model. So essentially a percent of revenue or a percent of sales, and it can be across the business. It can be a certain product or service. So maybe someone is willing to fund, say, a new technology that you want to build out. They're willing to fund it, and then but they're looking for a certain percent of the revenue that you make from that product or service, up until you pay back their money and then some. So the investment makes sense for them. There can be things like that too. And then the last kind of section is M&A. So sometimes, very frequently, especially a lot of the really big companies, like the FANG and whatnot, they'll talk about everything as a strategic partnership, but ultimately they're really thinking about M&A. But they want to really vet things from a partner perspective first to understand you and like how you think as a founder, how you think as about like, and how you speak to your customers and how your customers like your business, how they like your products and services. And they're kind of building that relationship with you first and foremost to see, could this be a fit? Could it also be like a culture fit? You know, that's something that is really important too. It's some companies more than others, but they want to understand, okay, could our teams work together down the road? So they want to start by kind of feeling out a partnership. And sometimes those talks, you know, will start with a partnership conversation and be like, we should work together. There's a lot of alignment here. There's a lot of synergies, you know, And that can lead itself naturally into an M&A conversation because, you know, that company might say, you know what, why don't we just acquire you? So sometimes the partnership conversations go that route too. Now, while we're talking about M&A, I just want to drive home that all of these things can help in the long term with M&A whenever you're ready and you're back at that conversation, because you're creating more relationships. And when you're going through M&A talks, you want to be able to get in touch with people quickly, because usually when you do get an offer, you have someone serious at the door, they're going to send you an offer and it's going to be an exploding offer. So they'll give you a limited amount of time to respond to that offer because they don't want you shopping it and getting a better offer. They want you to take whatever they're offering. But if you have strategic partnerships of any of these types, if you have these other relationships, you already have the groundwork, and sometimes you already have the data in place for one of these other companies to say, yeah, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and I can get you an offer in 24 hours, you know, or whatever it might be, because you've already got that groundwork. So you're not starting at zero from them about like, we haven't met, I don't know, you know, who you sell to, I don't know exactly what your product or services are, but you're already in the door. So it makes that much faster process. That's kind of the high level overview of the different types of partnerships.